remains at the same level no matter how much water pours into it from the rivers. It remains at the same height without increase or decrease. So the Nibbana element remains the same no matter whether many or few people attain Nibbana. If many people attain Nibbana, the Nibbana element doesn't grow fuller. If few attain, the Nibbana element doesn't become diminished. And the Buddha speaks quite concretely about seeing Nibbana, the deathless element, almost as though it were the object of an act of vision. In another sutta, he speaks of it as something that can be experienced by the body. It's an experience that's so vivid, so concrete and real, that it can be described as touching the deathless element with one's own body. The Buddha also speaks about Nibbana as a pada. The word pada means a state, and the Buddha calls Nibbana the amata pada, the deathless state. Thus he says in the Dhammapada, better than living 100 years without seeing the deathless state is living one day seeing the deathless state. Another word used in the text is satya. This word means truth. Not truth as a statement, but truth as reality, as an existing reality. There's a passage where the Buddha says, that which the ignorant take to be truth, that the noble ones, the Aryans, know to be false. That which the Aryans know to be true, that the ignorant regard as false. That which is of an imperishable nature, that is Nibbana, and that is the truth known by the Aryans. So here in this passage, that which the ignorant take to be truth, to be real, is a self, an ego entity. And this the Aryans know to be false, since through their insight they have realized that all phenomena are without a self, that they're all insubstantial. And that which the noble ones know to be truth, that is Nibbana, and this the ignorant take to be false, an imaginary thing, or a vain notion. But the noble ones, the Aryans, have seen Nibbana. They've known through direct experience that it is real, the one ultimate reality that's imperishable. In another sutta, the Buddha says, that which has a perishable nature, that is false. But that which is of an imperishable nature, namely Nibbana, that is truth. And then he says in the same sutta that this is the supreme noble truth, Nibbana, which is of an imperishable nature. So all of these textual sources put together, I think, very clearly establish the view that Nibbana is an actual reality and not the mere destruction of defilements and cessation of existence. Then there's also another famous passage which I think also makes the matter very definitely clear. This is the passage in the Udana where the Buddha says, addressing the monks, he says, Monks, there is an unborn, an unoriginated, an uncreated, an unconditioned. If there were not this unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, unconditioned, there would be no escape possible from the world of the born, the originated, the created, and conditioned. However, since there is an unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, unconditioned, therefore escape is possible from the world of the born, the originated, the created, the conditioned. The Buddha here is saying that if there were no unconditioned reality, there would be no escape possible from the round of birth and death. The round of birth and death would go on forever. There would be no way at all to put an end to it. But the Buddha adds the positive counterpart to this. He says that there already exists an unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, unconditioned. And therefore, it is possible for the mind to know the unconditioned, to realize the unconditioned, and by realizing the unconditioned, to destroy the ignorance and craving which hold us in bondage, and thereby make an end to the round of becoming, and reach deliverance from birth and death, deliverance from the world of the born, originated, created, and conditioned. Now, since Nibbana is the precondition for this liberation to take place, since Nibbana must exist for it to be known and for liberation to take place, therefore it's evident that Nibbana cannot simply be reduced to the destruction of the defilements and liberation from the round. Those events are conditioned events. They occur in time, while Nibbana is unconditioned, without any origination, timeless. Now, one particular problem is sometimes raised over the statement that Nibbana is unconditioned. It's said that it seems contradictory to say that Nibbana is unconditioned, and yet by practicing the path you attain Nibbana. Doesn't this seem to make Nibbana something that's conditioned by the practice of the path, something that's produced by the path? Doesn't Nibbana become an effect, something not unconditioned, not causeless? Here the contradiction is only apparent. Nibbana itself, we have to make a distinction between Nibbana itself and the attainment of Nibbana. Nibbana itself is unproduced, unoriginated. It's always existent. But by following the path, by reaching enlightenment, you realize Nibbana. By practicing the path, you don't bring Nibbana into existence, but rather you discover something already existing, something always present. We can say that the attainment of Nibbana, the realization of Nibbana, is produced by the practice of the path. But this doesn't mean that Nibbana itself is brought into being by the path. We can illustrate this by an analogy. The city of New York is presently existing, and there are highways leading into New York